In the mid-20th century, French Indochina remained a jewel in the crown of a fading empire. But beneath the veneer of control, seeds of fierce independence were taking root among the Vietnamese people. The end of World War II left France economically vulnerable and its colonial ambitions increasingly challenged.
By 1946, these tensions erupted into what would become known as the First Indochina War.
France poured men and resources into the conflict, determined to reassert its dominion.
From the shadows, a formidable force emerged, the Viet Minh, led by the enigmatic Ho Chi Minh.
His military genius, General Vo Nguyen Giap, would orchestrate one of history's greatest upsets. The Viet Minh waged a highly effective guerrilla war, wearing down French forces. Years of attrition led to growing frustration within the French High Command. In 1953, General Henri Navarre introduced a bold new strategy, the Navarre Plan. Its aim was to lure the Viet Minh into a decisive conventional battle where French firepower would prevail. This involved establishing a fortified air-land base, a hedgehog, deep in Viet Minh territory.
The chosen location, Dien Bien Phu, a remote valley close to the Laotian border.
It was a key transit point for Viet Minh supplies and threatened their operations in Laos. The French believed their superior firepower and air support made the position impregnable. In November 1953, Operation Castor began, dropping thousands of French paratroopers into the valley. Their first priority: establish an operational airstrip to ensure vital air supply. Soon, the valley floor was transformed into a network of defensive positions. The French constructed 8 fortified strongpoints, each named after a woman. Command of the base fell to the charismatic but perhaps overconfident Colonel Christian de Castries. Unbeknownst to the French, the Viet Minh were meticulously observing their every move.
Giap initially planned a swift assault, but recognized the strength of French defenses.
He made a crucial decision to abandon the quick strike in favor of a protracted siege. What followed was an astonishing logistical feat, powered by human will. Heavy artillery, dismantled into parts, was dragged by hand over impassable terrain. Once in position, the guns were expertly camouflaged, hidden from French aerial reconnaissance. By early March, the Viet Minh had silently completed their encirclement. The French command remained largely oblivious to the scale of the threat encircling them. A tense calm hung over the valley, a prelude to the impending tempest. Then, on March 13, 1954, the silence was shattered.
Their primary target, Strongpoint Beatrice, guarding the eastern approaches.
The French were caught completely by surprise, their defenses proving less robust than imagined. Following the artillery, Viet Minh infantry launched a relentless wave assault. The fighting on Beatrice was ferocious, often degenerating into hand-to-hand combat. Despite desperate resistance, Beatrice fell within hours, a crushing blow.
Among the casualties was Lieutenant Colonel Gaucher, the strongpoint's commander.
The next day,
March 14th, the focus shifted to Gabrielle, a key northern outpost. French paratroopers were desperately dropped in to reinforce the beleaguered defenders. The battle for Gabrielle raged for over 24 hours, a testament to the brutal fighting.
By the morning of March 15th, Gabrielle too had fallen to the Viet Minh.
The rapid loss of two key strongpoints sent shockwaves through the French garrison.
The central airstrip, lifeline of the base, was now directly threatened by Viet Minh artillery. Giap solidified his strategy to gnaw away at the French defenses through systematic siege warfare.
The Viet Minh began an extraordinary feat of engineering, digging miles of trenches. These trenches served as approaches, communication lines, and artillery positions.
The French desperately dug their own defenses, but struggled to match the Viet Minh's scale. Nighttime brought relentless probes and assaults on isolated strongpoints.
With the airstrip increasingly compromised, airdrops became the only supply route.
Viet Minh anti-aircraft batteries made these resupply missions exceedingly dangerous. Many planes were hit, and precious supplies often fell into enemy hands. The French launched numerous counterattacks, attempting to push back the encroaching lines.
These actions were often costly, achieving only limited and temporary gains.
As April arrived, so did the monsoon season, transforming the battlefield into a quagmire.
Trenches filled with water, disease spread, and morale plummeted further. The Viet Minh maintained relentless pressure, slowly strangling the garrison.
They also employed psychological warfare, broadcasting messages of surrender and despair.
Food, ammunition, and medical supplies became critically low.
The wounded suffered immensely in the squalid conditions of the underground infirmaries.
By early May, the Viet Minh launched their final, decisive assaults on the central strongpoints.
One of their most effective tactics involved tunneling beneath key positions to plant explosives.
On May 6th, a huge charge detonated under Elian II, shattering French defenses. Despite heroic efforts, the remaining French defenders were increasingly overwhelmed. The fighting devolved into brutal, hand-to-hand engagements for every bunker and trench.
Attempts to retreat to the isolated southern strongpoint of Isabelle were largely futile.
His final communications to Hanoi painted a grim picture of dwindling hope.
The Viet Minh launched their final, overwhelming push into the heart of the French camp.
At 5:30 p.m. on May 7, 1954, Dien Bien Phu fell.
Colonel de Castries and his remaining staff surrendered, marking the end of the battle. Thousands of French and colonial soldiers were taken prisoner, embarking on a grueling march. The once fortified valley was a landscape of devastation, a graveyard of imperial ambition. The stunning victory accelerated negotiations at the Geneva Accords, convened months later. The battle effectively ended France's colonial rule in Indochina, a monumental shift. Dien Bien Phu became a beacon of hope for anti-colonial movements worldwide.
Giap's tactics became a blueprint for guerrilla warfare against technologically superior forces.
For Vietnam, it remains a defining moment of national pride and liberation.
The battle offered stark lessons for future superpowers contemplating intervention in asymmetric conflicts.
Yet, the seeds of future conflict were already sown, leading to another, far larger war.
Dien Bien Phu, a battle that shattered an empire and irrevocably altered the course of history.
France, weary from years of war, sought a decisive military solution.
The Viet Minh, by contrast, focused on prolonged attrition and popular support.
The French severely underestimated the Viet Minh's capabilities and resolve.
General Giap, however, meticulously gathered intelligence on French weaknesses.
The rugged terrain surrounding Dien Bien Phu played a critical role. The French depended entirely on air supply, a single, vulnerable artery. The Viet Minh's vast network of human porters proved far more robust.
Crucially, Giap achieved unexpected superiority in artillery, a key turning point.
The Viet Minh's trench system became an ever-tightening noose around the French.
Effective anti-aircraft fire quickly negated France's air superiority, a vital advantage. De Castries found himself increasingly isolated, with limited support from Hanoi.
The Viet Minh fought with unwavering unity and fierce nationalistic resolve.
The French forces were a diverse mix of legionnaires, colonial troops, and regular French units. Weeks of constant shelling, mud, and dwindling hope wore down French morale.
As the end neared, only isolated pockets of French resistance remained.
The hedgehog had become a death trap, its defenses crumbling.
General Giap issued the order for the final, all-out assault.
Wave after wave of Viet Minh infantry stormed the last remaining strongpoints.
Despite the inevitable, many French soldiers fought with incredible courage until the very end.
For the French command, the moments leading to surrender were filled with stark realization.
The final moments of combat were a desperate, brutal melee.
Eventually, the last pockets of resistance ceased.
The Viet Minh had achieved an impossible victory against a colonial power.
The French prisoners faced a harsh and uncertain future in Viet Minh captivity. News of Dien Bien Phu's fall reverberated across the globe, stunning the Western world.
The myth of European military invincibility in colonial lands was utterly shattered.
It became a powerful catalyst for independence movements in Africa and Asia.
For Vietnam, Dien Bien Phu solidified its national identity and desire for sovereignty.
General Giap's strategic brilliance achieved a victory that transcended military might.
Dien Bien Phu remains a cautionary tale about underestimating a determined adversary. The victory came at immense cost, with heavy casualties on both sides.
The battle offered profound strategic lessons in logistics, artillery, and asymmetric warfare.
Dien Bien Phu helped usher in a new era of decolonization and changing global dynamics.
Ultimately, it was the courage, sacrifice, and strategic brilliance of ordinary people that defined this epic struggle.
Dien Bien Phu, the battle that shocked